What you're going to see in this video, this is the AMX 5120. This is a French Tier 9 heavy tank. The map is Glacier. What I'm going to do is I'm going to head straight to the middle of the map where the lowest part in the hill is, and I'm going to ambush an enemy tank. I'm going to spot the enemy tanks as quickly as possible at the beginning of the game. I'm going to use an autoloader, and I'm going to hit him as hard as I can. I'm going to remove 95% of his hit points. And it works almost every game. And it's as simple as this. This tank is the AMX 1357 GF. This is a French Tier 7 light tank. The map is Overlord. The first thing, we're going to try and do some hit and run tactics. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to head straight for the center and spot enemy tanks and make a quick decision as to whether or not I should take some shots at them or not. If I see a sucker, I'll take some shots. He's out of range. So I did 269 damage, and I received 135 damage. It's difficult to spot in this game. This is a brawling match, so I have to use the hit and run tactics. I'm going to look for a vulnerable tank, and I'm going to try and gang up on him. I'm going to try and surprise him. You notice we got the T25 AT, who's a potential target, and we got the T29, who's a potential target. So I did around 400 damage on that T29. And I gauge whether or not I can go in safely, which way their gun is pointing, how he looks like he's vulnerable again, so I'm going in for a second run. And that shows you I was able to get around 700 or 800 damage against that T29. This tank is a T57 Heavy. This is an American Tier 10 heavy tank, and the map is Live Oaks. I am going to get 2 kills. I'm going to get 3,900 damage. What's important is going to be the sniping position that I'm going to take at the beginning of the game and the methodology I'm going to use after I've exhausted that position. Now, there's 2 sniping positions you can take at the beginning of the game. There's one that shoots horizontally across the B row. When they're entering the city, you hit them as they drive across the road, and that's a secondary position. And the other position you take is around the B4 area or the B3 area. I'm going to hide behind some houses, look for a gap between the buildings that you can shoot across as the enemy tanks are headed on the way to town. And because they're in a hurry to get to town and they're vulnerable, they're going to keep on going. I almost never see them stop. And here's one of the firing positions you can use. It's right here. So I got 739 damage. I got 2 hits. If I had waited, I might have gotten more shots on the hulls of the enemy tanks. I'm obviously reloading. I'm halfway reloaded. Oh, he's not going to be happy. So now I'm going to try a secondary position, which I told you about for crossing the road. You don't have to park here. You can actually park a little bit behind me. There's some bushes and a little shed that you can use for cover, but I happen to use this position. I didn't get my last shot in. Ideally, you want to track him. I was trying to track him, so when I got my last shot in, he'd be stuck. I'm going to have to go for a reload. Now, there's snipers on the hill to my left. They're not high enough on the hill, so I'll be able to sneak around into the ditch and get behind that AMX and take shots at the T-30. So what I'm going to do is make a run for that ditch. Try to use the house to block any tanks on the other side so they don't see me and they can't shoot at me. Go up into the spotting bush and then pick a target. Check out if, oh, the AMX is dead. Look at that T-30. So I only penetrated on one shot. Unfortunately, the other 3 shots, I was shooting for the track, and it didn't do any damage. It was a huge mistake. I could have done a substantial more damage to the T-30. I only have 1 round left because I reloaded in the middle. Because this tank doesn't have a lot of rounds in it, I'm probably going to bring less of the APCR rounds. I don't use a lot of APCR rounds. I don't like to play with them. So instead of bringing 12, 12, and 12, I'm probably going to increase my regular rounds and substantially reduce the APCR, which I rarely use. Try to hit that cupola. Oh, beautiful. Because those were APCR rounds, I was able to penetrate his hull. Now I got a problem. Because I don't have enough, I don't have any ammo. All I can do is ram this guy. Or hope that an ally saves me. You want to ram him using the armor on the track. Keep your frontal armor facing the enemy. Now the score is 10-1. I got 3,500 damage. Normally, you would go, after you finish the job over here, you go to the hill right in front of you and you start firing into town. However, we won in the town, so it wasn't necessary to do it in this game. Oh, beautiful. Now, obviously, as soon as I'm done firing, I reverse to reload behind the hill. Wait until I'm halfway reloaded, and then go back into a firing position. That guy's going to try and drown. It's not going to work. You think I'll get the last shot? And that's the game. Well, that's not the game. That's 2 kills, 3,900 damage. And that's the game. This tank is the Su-101. This is a Russian Tier 8 tank destroyer, and the map is mines. I'm going to go to my normal flanking position. It's going to be a little bit different. This is a rear-mounted turret. So there's 2 positions to flank from. One has a bunch of bushes. I'm not going to go to that one. Go to the one behind it, which is a little bit higher up, and it's a little bit more appropriate for a rear-turreted tank. It does mean that my allies are going to have to spot for me. So this position is a little bit higher up. For the most part, you're not going to, well, I guess I did get spotted, but it's more difficult to be spotted from the back position. You can fire through. And I'm going to have some nice shots. You're going to see some good shooting positions. Right there's one. You can see I can hit that Super Conqueror, and I probably won't get spotted. Unfortunately, I missed. Did 507 damage. Ouch. Now, there is a house in the way, so you do have to worry about that rooftop. And people are going to assume that you're at the bush, so if you play further back, it should be easier. Did 414 damage on the Rom Borsig. The T-28 prototype is going to be afraid to come out. So you can see there's two positions that you can snipe at. You do have to be careful. If you don't control the hill, the enemy can snipe at you from up on the hill. I missed a shot on a tank out there. And if you want, you can go forward and you can snipe at the tanks at the enemy base that are up on that cliff. See, now that T-28 is taking random shots at the bushes, and he's not hitting anything. Now, the mistake I made is I didn't realize that my ally, which was an ISM, had died. So I no longer had enough support on my flank. I've done 1,800 damage so far. If you need to spot for yourself, you're going to have to go into the bushes. And you'll notice it looks like the roof of the house has already been destroyed. If you have a tank with a very good engine, you can go to the right. There's bushes, and then there's a rock on the right of the bushes. If you have a powerful engine, you can go higher up and hide behind that rock, and you can go shoot over that house. But this type of tank won't be able to do it. A KV-5 would be able to. So I'm up to 2,000 damage. 2,000 damage in a tier 10 game. That's really good for this tank. Unfortunately, this is the point where I realized that I don't have any support. So it was too little too late, and I was spotted. This tank is the AMX 1390. This is a French Tier 9 light tank. The map is Malinovka. There were some changes. This is World of Tanks 1.0. There were some changes to the map, so we have to have learned some new techniques. But this is my first spotting run, looking for the best bush. I decided to go for this middle bush. Let's see if I make it. I am going to get 6,500 spotting damage. I actually think it's going to be more like 7,000 spotting damage. But notice I was able to make it to the bush. I'm completely concealed. I am worried about this tank spotting me. Oh yeah, I remember this game now. The ally got behind me and he got spotted. So because he got spotted, he gave up my position. I took a lot of incoming damage. More than I should have because of that tank. I had to literally push him out of the way, and he really hurt our team by doing what he did. I now only have, it looks like 3 hit points. So I got 3,200 spotting damage. He really hurt me by what he did. He almost killed me. And he would not have had any advantage by being in this spotting position. He's certainly not going to compete with me for range because I've got obviously the binocs and the situational awareness and the recon. I got to add coded optics. He should have gone somewhere else. Now you notice I'm tracking an enemy tank, and the reason why is because if you have, I believe it's called designated target, you get an extra 2 seconds to keep that tank lit. However, I don't know if my allies will also keep him lit, or if it's just for me. It's not specified in the game, in the documentation. You can see that a lot of the enemy tanks have made their way towards the hill. At some point, this spotting position is no longer going to be good and I'm going to have to leave. But you should make it a point to try and make it to this position. And you could probably do so with a lot of fast medium tanks also, and a lot of fast tank destroyers. You notice I got 4,000 spotting damage. It's more than the damage I could do in the game. I've decided that the targets have dried up, so I'm advancing. Turn the binocs on, find a spotting position, and turn those binocs on. I'm going to maneuver through those bushes. Spotted a new tank. 5,200 spotting damage. I got 1,100 spotting damage on that Rom Borsig. Now from here I could obviously advance forward a little bit more. Get those binocs turned on again. If I'm spotting tanks, I'm not going to move. I'm going to sit in this position until my allies take out those tanks. Score is 3-1. I got 5,188 spotting damage. Now, if you have two spotters, there's 3 spotting positions on this map. There's no reason why 2 of us should be in the same position. You have in the south where the E50 and the IS-3 is. You have where I am and the ELC, which is the middle of the map. And then you have the northern town, where a spotter can go through the town, and it has to be active spotting. You have to keep moving. You'll notice that the enemy has won the hill. The score is 6-1. It looks like I can advance from this position. I could probably advance without being spotted, but we're going to wait until this guy's taken care of first. Hopefully my team will take him out. At some point I'm going to advance. I'm going to stay low, and I'm going to look for another bush to spot in. The smart thing to do, there's a lot of tanks up on the hill. I want to go spot those tanks. There's like 5 or 6 tanks up on the hill, enemy tanks. So there's more hit points for me to spot up on that hill. It doesn't make sense for me to spot the tanks at the enemy base. He's moving behind a building, so once he's behind the building, I'm not going to be able to spot him anymore. So now at this point, I decided to return back to the north. Like I said, there's a lot of hit points up there, a lot of enemy tanks up there. I'm going to go across the water. So I'm going to go spot for my team. On the mini-map, it will show you where the shallow water is. So you want to avoid going into the deep water, especially if you have a light tank. Now the question is, where do you get a good spotting position? The ideal position to be is where the VK4502 is. From there, I'll get a clear line of sight up on the hill. Now this is assuming that the enemy tanks are planning to come down the hill. It's possible that they might be returning to their base. We don't know it at this time. So I'm already starting to spot for the hill. We got 6,400 spotting damage. I believe that there's going to be an extra 500 spotting damage that's going to be added on in the post-game stats, which means that my allies hit tanks that were unspotted. Score is 9-3. Still haven't fired my gun. I've done more spotting damage than I could possibly do by firing my gun, so it's been well worth it. Now, you notice that T-32 is an easy target for me. I could easily get behind him and fire my gun into his rear. Unfortunately, these tanks don't have a lot of rounds anymore since they were nerfed. Now that I'm spotted, going in, I decided to back off because the E-50 was a threat. If the E-50 had his gun pointed the other way, I would have gone in after that T-32. Score is 10-4. You got to keep them spotted because you want to know where they're going at all times. Now look at that T-32. His gun is pointed away from me. I could easily go kill him off right now. The T-32 is still an easy target for me. Both of them have their guns pointed away from me. And all I got to do is go to the left, and they won't be able to shoot back at me. And that's the game. Base was captured. This tank is the AMX-30. This is a French Tier 9 medium tank. The map is Malinovka. I am going to get 8,000 spotting damage in this game, but will it be enough to pull a win? We'll find out. Now, this is probably with the World of Tanks 1.0 map, so it's going to be a little bit of a different positioning than previous maps. Because it's a medium tank, it's a lot larger than a light tank, so therefore I'm not going to go as far at the beginning of the game because I can be spotted a lot more easily. And also there was an enemy light tank that we had to deal with. You'll notice that the enemy light tank did flee, which means it allows me to advance a little bit further, but I have to do so very cautiously because, like I said, I could easily get spotted. I do have binocs with this tank, which substantially increases my spotting range. And I do like the AMX-30. It's a wonderful tank, and as I've said, I like it a lot better than the Leopard, which is very similar to it. Because of the crew perk, I believe it's called designated target. If you point your gun towards an enemy tank, they stay spotted for 2 extra seconds. So I keep my gun pointed towards enemy tanks at all times. Now, if you look, there's a T-54 lightweight, which is nearby, so he could easily spot me, so I have to stay in this position. There's also a Jag Tiger directly in front of me. I have to wait until he's done with before I can advance, or I have to be smart enough to know when he's reversed on the hill before I can advance. Other than that, the other tanks are far enough away that I can advance at some point. So I'm going to sit here and wait for that T-54 lightweight to be taken out of the game. I was able to spot that T-54E1. The score is 0-0. We have a T-54 lightweight, which should have a good spotting range and good camo, but you notice he's in the G1 area, and he's not in a good position at all. He's not doing anything effectively for our team. So we've got a Waffenträger who just showed up, which is a new threat, and the T-54 lightweight. It looks like the enemy has taken the hill, and our team never made it to the hill. They're at the base of the hill. So now I'm actually in a pretty good spotting position, and it's actually good for me to remain here until these threats are taken out. And you don't want to move. You want to stay perfectly still if you have binocs, because if you move your hull, the binocs will reset, and you'll have to wait 2 or 3 seconds before they turn on again. So I don't want to have that gap. I only got 2,200 spotting damage at this point. You can see that we've advanced into the enemy base. We have an M46 Patton near the enemy base. If he were smart, he would line up to take shots on that T-54 lightweight. You can see that the enemy is also advancing into our sniping position in the C5 area. There's a lot of enemy tanks. We're on the red line in the north. The enemy is in a pretty strong position. We are encircling them, but they're not moving fast enough. The M46 Patton should have moved a lot faster to take up a better position, and same with the T-54 lightweight. The T-54 lightweight easily could have gone to the I-0 area and sniped the enemy from behind. Scores 2-4. I got 2,700 spotting damage. There's a button on the keyboard, it's the T button, and when you hit the T button, it targets an enemy tank and it makes him blink on the mini-map. And I do that when I see an easy target for the SPG, or if I see an easy target that I want my allies to notice. An easy target will be something that's stationary, something that's out in the open. You can see that the enemy is advancing. It's 3-7. Our SPG should have gone into the south a long time ago. He's in the A2 area. Yeah, he waited too long to reposition. I'm up to 3,200 spotting damage. I was wondering why our Jagdtiger never took a shot at that Waffenträger. He should have had an open shot. If he didn't, he should have repositioned until he did. It should be within his range. It's poor positioning. You notice that the T-54 lightweight is still in a poor position. The M46 Patton took too long to reposition. And now the enemy is starting to approach our base. One person is pointing out that we had 3 tanks that could have gone onto the enemy cap. Getting onto the enemy cap is a good strategy because it splits the enemy team. Some of the enemy team has to withdraw to go defend the cap. Now it's 4-11. I got 4,800 spotting damage. 5,600 spotting damage. I'm doing the best that I can. I'm spotting really well for the team. But we don't have enough guns in the game. 6,200 spotting damage. It's better to hold my fire and let my allies do all the damage. That was 1,178 damage on that T-54. That's why it's very important to hold your fire, let your allies do the firing. Now from here I could easily reposition and take shots on those tanks behind me. That was 702 spotting, 702 damage on the Waffenträger, and we did kill that Waffenträger. So I'm up to 8,100 spotting damage. They are capping us. They are approaching my position. It's only a matter of time before they spot me. So even with 8,100 spotting damage, we weren't able to win the game. You can see he's pointing his gun towards me. Took too long to react. Stay low and run away. Unfortunately, I'm not going to get away. I wish I could. I should have kept on running. I wanted to take up another spotting position. Like I said, I should have kept on running. That was a big mistake that I made. And the base was captured. That was 8,100 spotting damage. This tank is the RU-251. This is a German Tier 9 light tank. The map is Fisherman's Bay. I am going to get 5,900 spotting damage. This is a World of Tank 1.0 map. So we're going to see a new spotting position that you won't see in previous videos. And the position is right here. So this is the first spotting position that I go to before I gauge whether or not I should take up a different spotting technique. It's going to be a very interesting game. Now the question is, can you spot here and snipe at the same time? The answer is yes, you can. You have to be very careful. You have to obviously take up the proper position. You have to be further behind. Obviously I got spotted. So when you get spotted, you want to go down over the hill. Get as low as possible. It's very important to get those tanks in the center as quickly as possible. Let your allies worry about the tanks in the south and try to help your team by sniping towards the center. Now, a lot of people, and I used to also, I would repair my gun immediately, but I don't do that anymore. When your gun becomes damaged, it doesn't aim in as far as an undamaged gun. And what I do is I just play with the gun damaged. You can see that my gun is currently in a damaged state, but I can still aim in fairly well against the enemy tanks. If you're at close range, it doesn't matter as much. It's more important if you're at a distance. You'll also notice that most of my team is in the northwest corner of the map. So is it a good spotting position? Yes, I've gotten 2,200 spotting damage so far. However, I need to practice the technique for sniping from this position. And that's why we're going to lose this game. It's going to be a very interesting game. This is a game that I could have pulled it into a win if I had played my cards properly, but I did too little too late. We're still spotting these tanks. You'll notice that the enemy in the center is not on our side of the map, so we don't have any shots on those tanks. I kept assuming that my allies would be hitting these tanks, but they weren't. Got 3,100 spotting damage. Now, one thing about repairing equipment, if you want to do a repair, you should do it right away. And the reason why is because there's a 90-second timeout. And if you want to have access to that repair a second time, you want to get that counter going as quickly as possible. So if you need to do a repair, do it immediately. I do use a small repair kit and a large repair kit. The reason why is because the crew doesn't get injured as often. So I don't use the crew, the health kits very often, although I do have it on all of my tanks. But because I'm working on SPG 15, I have to do 8,000 spotting damage. I'm using the food consumable to increase my spotting range. I got 4,200 spotting damage. The score is 3-8. The enemy has won in the town, and those tanks in the town, I can't spot them, so they're all going to survive. All the tanks within my spotting range, they're all going to die, except for the J Panther. So I'm going to do a good job, and I'm going to do a lot of damage to these tanks. I'm up to 5,100 spotting damage, but we just lost our spotter, the T-54. Or was it a T-71DA? We just lost a spotter. I just saw him blink off the map. He wasn't in a good spotting position. He was in the B3 area or the B2 area, and he should have been up spotting tanks coming out of the town. You can see that the enemy is now starting to make its advance across the field. Score is 6-9, and we are in the corner. You can see that on the west side, the J Panther is the only tank that remains. Now at this point, I should have started sniping. From this position, I could probably fire my gun without being spotted. Who's going to spot me? I was worried about the J Panther. He is going to pass by without detecting me. I did relocate because I was worried about being spotted by him. But I should have taken up a good sniping position and taken some shots on those tanks. I was just assuming that with good spotting that my team was going to finish off these tanks, but unfortunately it didn't happen. Now that T-32 could spot me if I move a little bit to the left. Oh, actually, maybe he can't. So I was hesitating. I was unsure about this spotting position. There's a lot of bushes over here, and I didn't play it properly. Right now, I should be firing my gun. I should take up the best position within these bushes, be double bushing in the center, firing that gun, and taking these tanks out of the game. You can see I've only got 3 allies left. This is a good firing position. I should be firing the gun right now, except for the fact that it's over the back of the tank, which means I don't have good gun depression. I am going to begin firing my gun, but it's going to be too little too late. And something unsuspecting happened. Now, unfortunately, he decided to charge me, which was the right thing for him to do, so I knew I had to spot him. He is heading in my direction. You can see he's heading in my direction right there. I should have switched to the APCR rounds. Did way too little too late. What I should have done was headed to the south. And that's the game. Game's over. 5,900 spot damage. This tank is the Lorraine 155-51. This is a French Tier 8 SPG, and the map is Fjord. Now, this is a new map. It's from World of Tanks 1.0, so there have been some map changes. So I need to find new SPG positions, and this is going to show you one of the new positions that I was working on. From this position, you can hit the tanks that are in the E4 area. Normally, they think that they're artillery safe, but they're really not. Now, this is my first time playing in this position, so I had to do a little bit of scouting out to find a good position. But I did find a little gap over here. And it's not perfect. As you can see, I can hit the tanks in the northeast corner, which is where I'm aiming right now. You can look on the mini-map. I'm aiming for the B7 area. That E25 right there is a target for me. I wish I could hit him. He's so lucky. Now you notice that there's a Hellcat on the map, and he's at the E4 area. I'll be able to hit that Hellcat. Normally he would be artillery safe. And these tanks that are hiding behind those racks, I can hit those tanks also. I was too close to the house, which is why I'm reversing. Now there's 2 tanks right on the left there. They're not visible. This is obviously repositioning. Oh, okay. You'll notice that there's a new peninsula which goes out onto the water. And this is the peninsula. And look at where it is on the mini-map. There is some support. There's a new road on this center hill, and there is some artillery support on that new road. So I was too late to get the Hellcat. But this is going to be a very powerful position once I master it. So I got a kill with 335 damage on the Skoda T40. That guy's not safe. So I got 2 kills. I killed that E-25. You can see that I do have the ability to hit tanks on that hill. But it's not, I don't have full coverage. I'm not in the best position to hit that tank. But it is possible. He's probably reloading right now, which is why he reversed. I hit him pretty good. Didn't get to see how much damage I did, but it was a good shot. Now, as that ISM travels, if he heads up that road, I'll be able to hit him the further he goes up the road. Scores 11 to 10. Now, at this point, obviously, I'm repositioning because I want to be able to hit the ISM. And there's buildings in front of me. Depending on what SPG you have, some of them have a higher arc, and the ones that have a higher arc will shoot over the buildings. The ones that don't, obviously, will not shoot over the building. Now, in this case, when you have an ISM that's in that position, the best thing to do would have been to return to base and to take shots at him from that area. Probably not going to be able to hit him. Oh, that was 297 damage. I got 900 total. Scores 14 to 10. Now that tank is just sitting there. It's a huge mistake for him. He should know he's a target for artillery. He's just going to get hit again and again. And that's the game. This tank is the FV3805. This is a British Tier 9 SPG, and the map is Malinovka. This game is going to show you the results of having bad scouting. And bad scouting means, or bad spotting, being unable to spot the enemy team, and the impact that it has on your game. Winning the game usually means being able to spot the enemy and being able to shoot at them without being spotted. And if you can do that, you can win lots of games. Spotting is very important in the game. And unfortunately, SPGs have a very small spotting range, and they're unable to spot for themselves or to spot for the team. So I decided that I was going to take up this position because I wanted to be able to support my tanks on the hill because this is an encounter game. You want to avoid hitting tanks on the frontal armor. When you have a choice, you want to aim for the side armor or the rear armor, obviously. Especially tank destroyers tend to be more heavily armored on the front. This is going to be a side armor hit. That was 234 damage. And I stunned both vehicles. They're not going to be able to side scrape in that position. Unfortunately, I misjudged that tank. I thought he was going to continue driving forward, but he reversed and he avoided my shot. The T-95, if you aim for the front of the tank, you're probably not going to do any damage. So you want to try and hit it on the side or at an angle. Another miss. When you stun an enemy tank, it reduces their spotting range, it reduces their load time, and it reduces their aiming ability. So it's very important to stun tanks, especially because you impact their reload time. Now that was a poorly aimed shot. I assumed that he was going to stop when he got to the red line. I was wrong. He kept on going. I didn't give enough lead time on my shot. Now you're going to see on the T-95, I'm probably not going to do any damage, even though I'm likely to hit him. Unless, well, maybe I will damage him. Nope. So if you're not going to do any damage, then it doesn't make sense to take the shot. Artillery used to do a lot of damage. You used to be able to do 1,000, 1,500 per shot. You used to be able to one-shot a lot of tanks, but it doesn't do that anymore. So you have to be a lot more careful. You have to be a lot more picky with your shots. You'll notice that I picked to aim at that rear corner. I did 145 damage. I picked the rear corner so that if he stops, I'll at least hit the tank. He's a slow-moving tank. So on a slow-moving tank, you want to aim for the edge of the tank in the direction that it's moving. That was not aimed well. I aimed for the center of the tank and it was moving forward. I should have aimed for the front of the track. But he was moving slow enough that it didn't make that much of a difference. In the case when you have three tanks that are close, you want to aim for the tank in the middle. If you go for the tank in the middle, you have an increased chance of damaging multiple tanks and of stunning multiple tanks. The score is 5-3. We're really closing in on the enemy. You'll notice that our two spotters, the AMX 1305 and the Batchat 12T, are not in good positions. They're too far away, and we really need them to spot the tanks on the hill. The STRV is a lightly armored tank, so it's a good choice for being hit by the artillery. Now the OHO is a good choice because it's a large tank. You're more likely to hit that tank. If you're a beginner, you want to aim for those large tanks. The score is 6-4. I got 1,155 damage. I haven't gotten a lot of stun damage, only 214. I am stunning the tanks, but my team is not hitting these tanks. And you can see our spotters are not really our light tanks are not doing a good job, and we really need them at this point. It's getting to be a critical point in the game. Score 6-7. You can see that our T-30 is being flanked. So I'm going to support my T-30. Unfortunately, now he's out of the game. Too little, too late. Prefer to hit the STRV. Now we have one spotter, the AMX 13105, and he's retreating. He should be taking up a strong spotting position, but he isn't. Now I'm in a bad position because I could easily be spotted. Perhaps I am, I don't know. I don't think I'm spotted. I have 6 suns. He was probably aiming for the Jag Panther. Oh, you know what? He probably saw the tree fall down, which is why he shot at me. So now I have to fall back. You can see the J Panther is falling back. The more he falls back, the more I have to fall back because I'm not in a safe position. I cannot spot a tank coming at me from the front. And our spotter is not doing a good job. So we're going to have a really tough game here. The UDAS has to also spot because he has the mobility and he's failing to do it. He's sitting up in a sniping position. This is going to be a hard tank to damage. Unfortunately, I missed. You can see that the enemy artillery is taking shots at me, so I have to keep on moving. Now he knows where I am, and I don't want to leave this position. So every time I fire, I'm going to reposition. You got to take that shot as quickly as possible before he disappears. The score is 9-9. That was 288 damage. I got 1,400 damage. You can see that our scout tank is too close to the Allies. He should be out there scouting for us. I'm going to take a chance at hitting that chariot. Now I'm taking blind shots because our scout is doing too little too late. There's very few enemy tanks. We know where 3 of them are. The other 2 are SPGs. What the scout should have done, he should have gone to hunt down the enemy SPGs. It would have been easy for him to do so. That is a tier 10 tank, and you would think that he's a good player. It's very easy for him to swing around and find those SPGs. Score is 10-11. If we lose that scout, we're going to lose this game. I had to take a blind shot on that T-28 to protect that scout, keep him in the game. And the T-28, I think the T-28 knows that that scout tank is there because the T-28 was pointing someone in that direction. Now I'm taking a blind shot, which I shouldn't have to be doing. It should be easy for my ally to go and spot tanks, and he's failing to do so. Score is 10-11. I'm asking the AMX to go scout. Unfortunately, one of our allies drowned. So I guess the AMX took a wild shot into the base and was able to reset the cap. And look what's going on over here. I want to help my ally. But the SPG was able to kill him. Okay, so now the score is 13-13. We have the advantage. We have a light tank against 2 SPGs. All he has to do is drive through into the enemy SPG territory and spot those tanks, and we should win this game. But look at what he's doing. For some reason, he's coming to where I am. It's a bad positioning for his tank. I'm moving forward to get closer to the enemy so that I get more accurate shots. I'm taking up this position over here. You want to be as close to the enemy as possible. It takes less time to aim. Your shots will be more accurate. Now we have 3 minutes and 40 seconds left. He has plenty of time to go through all that enemy territory and find those SPGs. Will he do it? It sounds like an easy task. He's heading in the right direction. But you'll notice that he's not really heading towards a corner right now. Okay, maybe he is. And then he stopped. For some reason he stopped. I don't know why he stopped. It's unlikely that he was spotted first. We're running low on time and he's not advancing. He's asking me to cap. And I should have gone to the cap a little bit earlier, but it's too late to cap. Unfortunately, because it's in counter mode, it's too late to cap. So the AMX is now doing nothing. He's just sitting there doing nothing. And by sitting there and doing nothing, he's absolutely not doing anything for our team. He should be he's got 2.5 minutes left to go out and scout that corner and to run up the side into the corner, the north corner, and he's just sitting there doing nothing. I am heading to the cap, but I do realize we're only going to win if both of us get on the cap. Now the AMX is starting to return perhaps to the cap, but it's really not the right move. He should have gone out and found those SPGs. He would have spotted them first. We would have taken them out easily. Now at this point, if he doesn't get on the cap right now, we're going to lose the game. Let's see if he makes it. You'll notice. Okay, we do have the ability to cap at this point. There's 1 minute and 20 seconds left on the cap timer. We have 10 seconds to spare. We got to kill 2 SPGs. And there's one behind us. He's outside of my spotting range, so the light tank was able to spot him. Let's see if we can kill him. I'm unable to hit him from where I am, and I have to move because I was spotted. You'll notice that the light tank was hit by an SPG, and then I was just hit by an SPG. So we both got hit, 2 separate shots. So I was able to take one out of the game. We got 30 seconds left. You can see that I do blame the AMX 13105. He did a horrible job spotting. Now he's going out into that corner, but it's really too little too late. He has 20 seconds left to find the enemy tank, and I don't think he's going to do it. I know for a fact he's going to fail to do it. And that shows you poor scouting and the impact. We could have won this game.